In or on, to or for. Why does have to mean must? Phrasal verbs? What's up with that? If you asked your teacher about prepositions, they probably said something like, I don't know, that's just what we say. You have to memorize it. Well, I'm happy to tell you, your teacher lied. Hi, I'm Josh, your American English guide, and this is English Hacks. So, no, your teacher didn't actually lie to you. They just don't know that prepositions are logical. And that includes phrasal verbs. In fact, phrasal verbs wouldn't exist if there wasn't a logic. We will be learning the logic of each preposition in 3 easy steps, but we'll come back to that later in this video. First, there are some important things that will help you understand what you will learn in this course. One of the main goals of this channel is to help you develop the hidden subconscious network of connections in the mind of a native English speaker. I understand if you look at English prepositions and you say, they can't be logical. But imagine this. There's a farm that grows a lot of different plants. On the surface, you see all the leaves and branches of the plants, the in plant, the on plant, the to plant, etc. These leaves and branches are the different dictionary definitions that seem to be disconnected and random. These surface meanings are what native speakers are consciously aware of. However, under the ground, we find the root of each plant. The root is the logic that all the dictionary definitions are based on. This underground level is part of the subconscious mind, which means that native speakers aren't consciously aware of it. Another way to think about it is with this image. Here we can see that the logic has a core and an area around the core. Many times, the surface meanings of a preposition will fit into the core of the logic. These are very clear, and it's easy to see how the logic applies. Sometimes, however, the surface meaning will be somewhere outside the core. The farther away from the center it is, the more abstract the connection. Now, an exception to the logic would be outside of this core. And in all of the hundreds of example sentences that I have looked at, I have not found a single exception. Now, you can call this the feeling of a preposition or the essence of a preposition or even the main idea of a preposition. I chose the word logic because, number one, the prepositions can be explained logically, and number two, we're using a logical approach to discover the feeling of a preposition that a native speaker has, and that will explain how and why a preposition is used in all of these different cases. In fact, we can take all of the information and put them together into maps. As I was reaching the end of my book, which this course is based on, I realized that I can actually visually show the relationships between the logic of the prepositions on a map. Now, I'm not going to show you the maps here because they can look a little complicated at first, and I don't want to overwhelm you or make you feel like it's too complicated. We will see the maps as needed as we go through this course, starting in the next video. Now, how are we going to learn all of this? Well, there is a structure. We're going to follow 3 easy steps. First, we will look at the logic. Then we will see some example sentences that are put into different groups. At the end of each group, we will then see how the logic applies to each sentence in that group. Now, this course has a lot of example sentences, and although all of the important information that is in the book is also in this course, there are some example sentences that are only in the book because I don't want these videos to be too long. You don't have to buy the book, but if you want even more examples for each preposition, you can find those in the book. Now, before we start the course, there's one last important detail. Every language has its own personality. The prepositions are logical or have a core feeling. There are cases in which you might say, well, it's very logical to use this preposition in this case based on the preposition's logic or feeling, but the English language doesn't like that. Just like people, every language has its own preferences. And so instead of using this particular preposition, it might say, well, I like to use this preposition that actually touches the logic but doesn't overlap. Most of the time, that's not a problem, but there are cases where that happens. Ready to build a feeling for English prepositions and start thinking like a native? Then start the course here. Questions or comments? Leave them down below. Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button, and I'll see you in the course.